You know, it's a funny thing how certain things turn out to be fact in history books. Our government will lie, and that lie will become a fact. Let me show you something that a lot of people today are still debating over. This is a Life magazine from September 24th, 1945. Shows Colonel Jimmy Stewart on the cover. Jimmy Stewart, the actor who volunteered for service during World War II, flew combat missions over Germany, over all of Europe. Quite a hero, really, and a patriot. Well, the article that appears on page 110 is titled Pearl Harbor. And it says, the facts were known to Republican presidential candidate Thomas Dewey in 1944. He withheld his fire, but now is the time to assess their meaning. And what they're talking about is this, ladies and gentlemen. For a long time, the official explanation of Pearl Harbor was that we were slugged without warning when we were innocently going about our business. Slugged we were, but there's no need to explain Japanese behavior. But to say that we were slugged without warning is a radical distortion of the truth. Roosevelt, the chief executive of the nation and the commander-in-chief of its Army and Navy, knew in advance, listen, knew in advance that the Japanese were going to attack us. And it goes on further in the article to point this out, that they may not have known the precise location of the attack, but the Japanese code had been solved for some time, and they knew that they were launching an attack against us, and we were not preparing our Army and Navy and Air Force to withstand that attack. In fact, in many cases, what we were doing was even making sure that we could be attacked. Now, I know that's hard to believe for a lot of people, and there's still a lot of conservatives, a lot of people out there that don't believe this. This is not the only case. There was also an article, a major article in the Chicago Tribune during these years that also brought out the fact that we knew we were going to come under attack, etc. The thing about it was that we have this history that we're told on the History Channel, in our history books in schools, that the Japanese came here and they just fooled us. They pretended like they wanted peace, while in fact they were preparing for war. But that is true, but not the way they present it. What didn't come out was that Kinoue, who was a moderate Japanese prince, wanted peace. He sent, quote, Kinoue sent a moderate by comparison with the Japanese militarist party. Kinoue sent word to Ambassador Grew that he would like to meet Roosevelt on U.S. soil, either in Hawaii or Alaska. His proposal for peace with China, handed to Ambassador Grew by the Japanese Minister for Foreign Affairs on September 22, 1941, was hardly satisfactory. And so what they wanted to do, and part of this, and they've got it at the end of this article, is that they were going to agree to a peace with China, a partial withdrawal initially from Indochina, ultimately out of China, as long as certain conditions were met. Those conditions were simply reestablishing economic ties with the United States, an ample supply of oil. And in regard to all of this, what a lot of people don't understand, and I already put this down so it'd be hard for me to pick it up and look for it again, this was an anti-communist move on the part of Japan. Most people do not understand that Japan was very, very afraid of communist Russia. And you had Mao Zedong all over China. You had Chiang Kai-shek, who turned anti-communist, but he had been initially trained militarily in Russia. So it was very up in the air whether he was really turned against the communists or not, or whether it was a personality conflict. The Japanese went into Manchuria. Yes, they went in for natural resources, but one of those strong steps behind it was to block the expansion of communist Russia. They feared it, and they even said so in their communiques to Roosevelt. that they feared the expansion of communism in the Far East. This does not excuse what they did, but it shows some insight behind some of the things that they did. There were individuals in Japan who wanted peace, but because we constantly rebuffed them, ignored them, and made things even worse to invite an attack, if you look at the history, by the policies of President Roosevelt, it gave the power ultimately to the militarists, and we got war. These are things that you don't read about in your history books. If you go back into your antique bookstores, look at old newspapers, look at old magazines, you'll find that a lot of this stuff is still in those antique bookstores, but they've gone down the memory hole when it comes to putting them into television today and into history books today. Just a little insight as to the complicity of our government in lying to our own people about what we're doing overseas with our money, whether it's 70 years ago or whether it's today. These things go on. And so we always have to be patriotic, support our country, but take a look at some things that our government is doing to bring about war, not just back in 1941, but also in 2012 rather.